Rezzil, Rezzil. The world's #1 virtual reality sports trainer. Available now on MetaQuest.
A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit! He stumbles! He's down!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
The Eagles are 3-0, and tonight may be to decide who actually will be their main competitor heading down the stretch of the season. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We'll talk NFL and Eagles coming up in less than 20 minutes from now with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. We talk with him every Monday to get the latest on the NFL the day after the games. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 and DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Get you my thoughts on the Phillies a little bit as well as they split their series with the Braves. Eagles go down to Washington and put a beating down on Carson Wentz. I mean the Washington Commanders. And little thoughts on the NFL overall. Some interesting results from the weekend in football like we do like to do here on Mondays on 97.3 ESPN. All right, let's get to the Eagles because I think that there's a couple things that we need to specifically take away. Number one, I was hypercritical of Jonathan Gannon in this defense after week one. Now that we are 2 weeks later, this team defensively has not allowed more than 15 points in 2 games. It's absolutely incredible to look at this organization now and realize that you have a situation where, let's be realistic, you cannot, under any circumstances, assume that you know exactly what's going on with this team. And I don't mean that in a negative, because you look around the NFL. Why did the Chiefs get beat yesterday? It's not because of their kicker. Patriots lost on basically the 2-point conversion failure. So how have the Eagles been able to play such great defense? It has to be one of two things. It's either Jonathan Gannon and the Eagles defense players see something that the rest of the NFL has not figured out yet, or the Eagles defense is a top 5 defense. It's one or the other. And I say it has to be one or the other because look at what they've done the last 2 weeks. They completely made a fool of an elite Vikings offense. A Vikings offense that realistically, you look at what they've done this season overall, the Vikings, the Eagles are really the only team they haven't been able to score against. They scored 28 against Detroit yesterday, and they scored 23 against Green Bay in week 1. The Eagles held them to 7. So it's fair to say that the Eagles either knew something about the Vikings the rest of us didn't, or that this defense is not the defense that gave up 35 in week 1. Now, maybe there is something to the fact that when they were in Detroit, the crowd was so loud, and maybe that impacted them defensively. Didn't impact them offensively because the offense ended up scoring 31 points in the game. So my first takeaway is when you get 9 sacks, when Brandon Graham gets, 2.5 sacks yesterday, at some point you got to look at this defense and say these guys are legit because you got high-level quarterback play the next 2 weeks. No more Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, middle-of-the-road guys. Trevor Lawrence is a stud. Kyler Murray is a stud. And you got to figure out how to beat both of those guys the next 2 weeks. I'm not getting ahead to the Cowboys game on Sunday Night Football. My mind isn't there yet. And neither should the Eagles. You cannot look past the Jags team, who I think has the leading candidate for Coach of the Year in Doug Peterson. What he has done with that Jags organization cannot be ignored. So this defense has shown you something for 2 weeks. That they can limit other teams' offenses, they can get the quarterbacks, they can knock them around a little bit. And that's a positive sign because, frankly, last year, this was a defense that was able to take advantage of an easy schedule down the stretch. And what happened yesterday? They got 17 hits on Carson Wentz. Kirk Cousins, they got 7 against him as well. And you could argue part of the reason they only got 7 against Kirk Cousins was because Cousins gets the ball out of his hands faster than Wentz does. It felt like Wentz was trying to go for the big play every down. And I got to give the Eagles defense credit and Jonathan Gannon. They did an amazing job yesterday. That's my biggest takeaway, number one. Number two, I have to look at the Eagles offense, and I have 2 questions. Number one, how did you only got, 74 rushing yards yesterday? How does that happen against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL? At some point, I think we need to admit that the Eagles offense is not a finished product. We have not seen the best version of them yet. And I know some of you out there are saying, whoa, wait a minute. These are 2 of the best games that Jalen Hurts has ever had. I won't disagree with that. And I understand people think he's an MVP candidate in some circles. But I'm telling you right now, we have not seen the best version of this offense. Because, honestly, it's been a little scattered. All of their points were scored in 1 quarter yesterday. How am I supposed to tell you? Seriously, here on Game Night, Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. How can I honestly tell you, listeners, and everybody checking on the show, I appreciate you do, as you always join the show. I can give you stats for days. The Eagles are 5th in the NFL in points per game, right? We can talk about how this team is a bunch of different things, right? Offensively. But I genuinely don't know what version of this offense is the real offense. Because, like I said, you scored 24 points in 1 quarter. Now, the defense dominated from beginning to end. We know that. We can't deny that. We know that Jalen Hurts has been efficient, very efficient for 2 games. He has played very well. But there are still some questionable plays being called by Shane Steichen. And I made the comment to somebody yesterday, and it was somebody who tends to be very opinionated about things that, because they're a fan. And I turned to an Eagles fan yesterday, and I said, was that call Shane Steichen or Nick Sirianni, right? And I asked that question a few times. Finally, after the 3rd time, the person turned to me, and they said, man, I don't know. And I said, that's my point. I don't know who to blame in these situations. Because there were times that looked like the offense was still not all on the same page. Hurts is screaming out changes at the line. The play clock is ticking down. It's taking forever to get the play call in, get to the line, get set, and run the play. Other times in the game, you're running the ball, and you get stuffed and you go nowhere. That one play where Deron Payne blew up the tight end and got into the backfield when they were in the end zone, I'm thinking, Why is a tight end blocking Daron Payne? Doesn't somebody notice that Daron Payne somehow slid out to the edge and blew up the tight end? So I don't even know if we've seen the best version of this offense yet. I think the offense is still figuring it out. Look what's going on in Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers right now are a team that you are going to see November 27th. By then, both of these teams should have hit their stride. The funny thing is, a team with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Aaron Rodgers has a bottom half of the league passing offense. They are 27th in the NFL in points scored. They are 19th in the NFL in passing yards, but they got Aaron Rodgers. So I can't heavily buy into anything I've seen because I think there's still room for growth. There's still room for improvement. And I really do think that this is a team in the Eagles that the next 2 weeks, we're going to learn more about them than we've actually learned for the first 3 weeks. Because I think Jacksonville is not a team you can overlook. And Kyler Murray is dangerous, as we've seen already this year. And I know some of you are saying, well, Arizona got beat up by the Rams. I feel like the Rams always beat them up. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and get too bent out of shape over that. Dangerous teams are still dangerous either way. Hey, the Eagles are 3-0, but they're an evolving 3-0. I just don't think we've seen the best of them just yet. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on GameNight, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Of course, GameNight being brought to you by my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. Trust Jenkins. Plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. Because when the sports bash needed to make our studio comfortable, that's who we called, and so should you. Let me tell you something. This studio used to get either ridiculously hot or ridiculously cold. And I would be sitting here some days shivering in this studio, some days with a hoodie on, and other days I'd be sweating. And I'm thinking, I'm not even at the gym. What's going on here? So finally, the folks from Jenkins came to our studio, put in an individual air unit for our room, and me and Mike Gill, well, we are way happier now, thanks to Jenkins. Call Jenkins for leaks, stoppages, renovations. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. And you only have one number to call, 609-641-6262. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services, Jenkins can repair or replace your water or sewer main. One call does it all. Call Jenkins at 609-641-6262 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Over on the text board, 609-403-0973, Paul from Millville says, hey, Josh, I think there needs to be more concern on the Eagles' inability to score in the second half of games. Good teams don't take their foot off the gas. They make sure the teams aren't hanging around. In 2017, the Eagles stepped on the throats of teams. We are not doing that this year. What are your thoughts? Paul from Millville, I appreciate you chiming in. Here's the thing. I don't, first of all, this isn't the 2017 team. Let's get that out of the way. That team was a bunch of guys hitting the perfect moment in time. You brought in guys like Garrett Blunt and Chris Long onto a team that realistically was a veteran or two away from being a really good team. And everybody maximized their talent that year. Alshon was healthy most of the year. Zach Ertz was in the prime of his abilities. Torrey Smith had one of the best years of his career. It was just a great all-around year. So this team is not 2017. The problem with this team, Paul and Millville, is that like I said earlier, I don't think they're a finished product. I think they're still figuring out their offense. And whether it's Shane Steichen's play calling, whether it's guys not being on the same page with Hurts, whether it's missed blocking assignments, there's a variety of reasons why they're not scoring in the second half. And you know what? Part of it may be because other teams saw what they did in the first half and they're making adjustments and the Eagles offense is not making enough adjustments. And you know what, Paul? Maybe you're right. Maybe they are taking their foot off the gas, and that's a problem. But you know what? That gets back to coaching. Players want to play. Look at Justin Herbert yesterday. Justin Herbert stayed in a game that was already decided, a complete blowout loss, and his explanation was, I want to be out there for my guys. That's a player mentality. Coaches' mentality might be different, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe guys like Sirianni and Steichen, do they not have the killer instinct? We're going to find out. More NFL and Eagles talk coming up next with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on Game Night.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2022 season this Sunday against Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Devontae Smith, touchdown! He caught it in the corner of the end zone.
Pre-game coverage starts at noon with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 1 p.m. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagle station.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Check out Chicky and Pete's all-new happy hour every weekday starting at 4 p.m. Enjoy select craft beers, seltzers, and wines for $5, plus feature cocktails for $7 on our special happy hour food menu. We call it the Bar Board, with world-famous crab fries, tasty pretzel nuggets, and get ready, Curds Aroni, with crispy bacon and Dijon cheese sauce. Chicky and Pete's all-new happy hour every weekday starting at 4 p.m. Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. College football is back. Come join us for XL College Football Saturdays every Saturday starting at 11 a.m. We have you covered. Ice cold domestic draft personal pitchers for just $5. Plus a wing special for you and your crew like no other. 40 classic or boneless Chicky and Pete's award-winning wings for just $60. Choose from buffalo, barbecue, dry rub, or the new kid on the wing block, spicy Thai peanut wing. XL College Football Saturdays, only from Chickies and Pete's.
Meet Boost, the fizzing amazing vitamin boosts that make you feel like
I like to boost it. My vitamins can boost it. I like to boost it. We like to boost it.
Boost effervescent vitamins turn your H2O into H2O to give you a fizz-tastic feeling like
I like to boost it. My vitamins can boost it. I like to boost it. We like to boost it.
Because it's not just vitamins, it's Boost, the fizzing amazing vitamin boost.
Boost it.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Biana's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
There's nothing like having the best of both worlds. And if you need quality orthopedic care, that's what you'll get from Cape Regional Health System. First, you'll get the personalized orthopedic care the Cape region has counted on for decades. And through our partnership with Penn Orthopedics, you'll now benefit from nationally ranked clinical expertise respected across the country. For an appointment, call 609-463-CAPE or visit caperegional.com/orthopedics. Cape Regional Health System and Penn Orthopedics, the best of both worlds for a healthier life.
Smart businesses are always looking for ways to improve. Better work days can start with Cintas. Your dedicated Cintas service reps help make sure you have what you need when you need it. We'll stock your essential cleaning products, deliver hygienically clean workwear, inspect your fire extinguishers, and provide first aid and safety supplies. Cintas is with you every step of the way, so you stay a step ahead. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, Chief, we got a damaged RV on its way to the OR.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of RV surgery.
Wait, are you promoting me?
Congrats, Martinez.
Doctor, that RV's flatlining.
Well, that sounds like the job for the new head of nursing.
So you're just promoting everyone now?
Yeah, kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
Streaming now. Minion Mayhem has come to Peacock.
This is the biggest day of my life. So grab the popcorn.
Minions, assemble!
For the most diabolical movie ever.
I am going to be a super villain. All right, I'm not Minnie. Please stop calling me that.
Minions: The Rise of Gru. Streaming now only on Peacock.
Been car shopping lately? What a hassle. Way overpriced vehicles, limited inventories, endless waits for new cars. But that's not the way it is at Bennett Chevrolet. Because Bennett's got the new and used vehicles you want in stock, ready to roll. And get this, Bennett Chevy is selling new Chevys right at MSRP, not 1 cent more. Look around, you'll see. Selling at MSRP is very rare. And to keep your payments low, we've got financing from just 1.9%. And we're still paying a record minimum $7,000 for any trade, and I mean any trade, towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's right, we're paying a minimum $7,000 for the worst trade out there. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And at Bennett, you'll love the way you're treated, because our non-commissioned sales team is paid based on your overall satisfaction, not how much you spend. Come see how easy car buying can be when you find new roads at Bennett Chevy. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com. With GMF financing approved credit, excludes Corvette and prior sales.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig hanging out with you day after an Eagles win here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Of course, the show being brought to you by my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's, Atlantic City. Bet, watch, and win all season long. Plus, enjoy your favorite games from all over the world with 10 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, 13 big screen TVs, comfortable seating, and much more. Just head over to FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City to get in on all the action this season. FanDuel wants every bettor's experience to be enjoyable and fun. Visit FanDuel.com/playwell to learn more. Plus, 12-1 order to play and present in New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Well, another crazy NFL day yesterday. I mean, you know, you look at the world we live in now, and it feels like every week I have more questions than I have answers, honestly, when it comes to the NFL. So, to help us answer some of those questions, because I'm sure he has some of his own questions, especially after being at the Tampa Green Bay game yesterday. I mean, how do you have 2 future Hall of Famers and they score a total of 26 points? Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me right now, as is each week on Mondays on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey, Josh, what's going on? I'm preparing for my first Florida hurricane, man. So, If the reception goes out, it's going in and out. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to have power. Do you know there weren't any flights to Philly or Jersey coming out of Orlando, Fort Myers? I looked up and down. We were getting ready to bolt, but no chance. Going to hunker down and hopefully get some football tonight. And I don't know if it's gonna work.
Well, our thoughts are with you. Our thoughts and prayers with you, Rob, because I know those hurricanes, it's like a flip a coin situation down there. It's like a hit or miss thing. Some days, everybody's good. Other days, it's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
I mentioned the Tampa Green Bay game. We'll get to that. You were there yesterday, Rob.
Yep.
I got to ask you about this Eagles team, and I want to ask you the question that other people are asking, because a lot of fans are having this question, and I think it's a fair question, because you look around the NFL. Look what happened, like I said, with Tampa Green Bay. 2 future Hall of Famers scored 26 points. Pat Mahomes had trouble scoring yesterday. And people here in Philadelphia are wondering, this team scored 24 points in the second quarter, and that was it. Is there a legitimate concern, Rob, that this offense is not scoring in the second half the last 2 games?
I think that just speaks to some defensive adjustments that the teams are making against them, and then the offense has got to counter and make some adjustments. But at this point, Josh, it's hard to be concerned with anything the Eagles are doing, because you look at what this team has been able to accomplish. Off to a 3-0 start. Jalen Hurts has been sizzling the last 2 weeks. He's really answered a lot of questions. The defense has been shut down and locked down. They've been incredible outside of that second half against Detroit. And the good news is they're 3-0, and yet they haven't played a complete game. They haven't played a full 4-quarter domination or just not really left points on the table or been able to really be effective on all three phases, start to finish. So you think that may come at some point, but they're finding ways to win, and they're finding ways to win in somewhat difficult situations. I thought they were going to win yesterday against the Washington Commanders, and they did. I thought they'd have a tougher time, and they didn't. The previous week against Minnesota, I thought they were going to lose. They found a way to win that game and win it convincingly. So I think things are looking up for the Eagles. And from a perspective of, well, how far can they go and how good are they? Each week I see them play, I start to think that they are more and more of a playoff, a deep January contender. I knew they were going to be a division champ. That was that's what I predicted coming out of the NFC East. And I just thought they could be a one and done team. But this team, the way they're playing right now, they have a real shot to make some noise in January. And we don't know what it's going to look like. We're still 3 weeks into the season. The 2016 team started 3-0 with Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, and then things unraveled. Yep. I think there's a better team than that. They're a little bit more experienced than that team was, but it's a long way to go. But right now they're trending in the right direction.
I would remind people, because you're not the first person I heard mention the 3-0 2016 team. Once Lane Johnson went out with that suspension, that's when things spiraled. And, I think that's a huge part of that conversation no one talks about. People are like, oh, they fell apart. Well, you lost one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL to a suspension, and they just never adjusted. Speaking of adjustments, Rob, I've admitted this in recent weeks. I called out Gannon at defense week 1. All those missed tackles, strange play calling, right? And you know what? The last 2 weeks, they've allowed 15 total points. So, is this who they really are? Are they really that good of a defense, or do you think that they'll come back down to earth a little bit?
I think they have talent on defense, and it took a little bit of time to work through that. But they faced two offenses that can score points and really held them down. The Lions came on strong in the second half, but they have proven to be an offense that is able to score points, and they're a better offense than we thought they would be, even with Jared Goff. But then the Vikings come into town, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, and as dynamic as they could be, Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen, they shut them down. And I know people in Philly hate Carson Wentz, but in the first 2 weeks, he threw 7 touchdown passes. He put up some points, and the Eagles shut him down effectively. So they came out in the final 2 weeks after some issues against the Lions in week 1, and this defense has played up to its talent capability. When you look at the talent that they have, the upgrades at secondary, the upgrades at linebacker, the deep and strong and the depth they have at the defensive line, this is who they should be. And if they were continuing to play more like they played against the Lions than they did by turning things around the last week 2 and week 3, then Gannon could have been in trouble. But right now, I think he's gotten them to the point where they're playing well, they're playing confident, he's utilizing guys the right way, and now you gotta hope that they can build momentum off of this.
And I'm not saying this to be mean to the couple guys they've played, but what do Goff and Wentz and Cousins have in common? They're mostly stationary quarterbacks at this point in their careers. Like, Wentz was more mobile before the injuries. Now, he looked awkward that one run yesterday. I was like, ooh, that was not a good sign. That's not a good look for Carson. But they're not facing those kind of guys the next 2 weeks. This defense is now going to face Trevor Lawrence, who with Doug Peterson looks dynamic. And we know Kyler Murray is super dangerous any day of the week, Rob. So how much of a challenge do you think they're going to be put under these next 2 weeks defensively?
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen them in the past struggle against passing quarterbacks, against pocket guys, and now they've stepped it up in those situations. And now you're going to be tested when you face guys who can move around. I think this is a tough test in Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense and Doug Peterson and what he's able to do, what he knows a little bit about. Obviously, it's a new coordinator, new offense, new everything. But he's familiar with some of the players on this team. He can attack some of their strengths and some of their weaknesses. So it's going to be a tough challenge. It'll be a tough test. but I think they're equipped to handle running quarterbacks. I think this is a team, when you look at the linebackers that they have, and you look at a guy like Avante Maddox, who can really, even though he's a corner, right, the nickel corner, he's a hitter sometimes, man. I like the way he can play the game. He saw a hit yesterday. Who was it that he put it on? And he really stepped. It might have been Carson. I don't know who it was, but he really rocked them pretty good. I think they're equipped to handle a elusive, mobile type quarterback. Kyler Murray's on another level. He's so quick, and he's darting around doing different things. But I just don't like that Cardinals team at all. So these next 2 weeks, I look at Doug coming in right now. That's a W. I know the Jags are coming off a huge win in LA against the Chargers. Eagles got to find a way to win that game, and I think they will. And then you'll be looking at 4-0. They may be the only team that's undefeated in the NFL at that point. And there's got to be a lot of excitement. You know, I'm so far removed from it now down here in Florida. I would hope, Josh, that people are more excited about the Eagles coming out of yesterday than nitpicking some of the things that they didn't like the second half being held down and shut down in the second half and things like that. It's going to happen over the course of a game in the NFL.
Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joining us here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle, at Rob Maaddi on Twitter for all of his NFL coverage. Rob, I mentioned quarterbacks, and I got to get to Hurts real quick before we get to some other NFL topics. He's right now at most sports books the number 3 betting odds favorite for MVP. So should Jalen Hurts be in the MVP conversation after 3 weeks?
100%. So, Josh, full transparency, I don't vote for the NFL MVP, but I assign the voters. So in some conversations with some of the voters already, including yesterday at the Tampa game where there were a few of the voters, we were just talking afterwards about the NFL 3 weeks in. And one guy says to me, hey, how about Jalen Hurts? And I go, and Tua, look at the 2 Alabama guys, both in that conversation, as well as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and every year Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. But Jalen Hurts 100% legitimately is in that conversation right now. Long season, but to be able to say 3 weeks in September, Jalen Hurts is in the MVP conversation, to see his odds go up the way they did after this most recent performance, I think it's got to be reason for a lot of excitement for Eagles fans.
Hurts currently plus 700 over at FanDuel Sportsbook, and Tua is plus 1,700.
Wow.
Over. By the way, Lamar Jackson is also plus 600 for those who are curious, who are behind Josh Allen on that list. Speaking of quarterbacks as a whole, you mentioned Tua and the Dolphins. I mean, I got to ask you, Rob, how much of these Dolphin wins have been the Dolphins, and how much of it has been the Bills basically looking like they're going to suffer a heat stroke?
Yeah, and how crazy is it that the Bills dominated time of possession, 40 minutes to 20 minutes. Yep. They ran 51 more offensive plays, 90 to 39. And yet they were a field goal running out of time away from winning it. That heat in Miami in September is real. It's real in October. We saw it with the Eagles in December 2019. It's a real thing. And it's tough for teams, but the Bills are the better team. And sometimes the better team doesn't win. But good for the Miami Dolphins. They stepped up. They were able to make enough plays. Tua was able to bounce back from the head/back injury, whatever it was. It was a little odd because he was wobbly, and he had he said that it was his back that caused his legs to wobble. Okay, we'll see. There's going to be an investigation about that. But they made enough plays to win that game. But I will put them on a neutral field. I take Buffalo 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, Coach McDaniel said Tua's ankle and back are sore. So folks can read into that whatever they want, because let's be realistic. Football is a physical sport. A lot of guys are sore. We mentioned Jacksonville earlier. I want to ask you about Doug Peterson and that team. What is it in your mind that has been what Doug has, like, what has Doug done to take a team that let's be realistic. After that AFC Championship appearance, they've been like in purgatory, basically. They haven't been able to find their way home. And Doug walks in there. They look like a totally different team, Rob, than what they've been the last couple of years.
Yeah, and this is a team that's been terrible for a long period of time, right? You take that season away, the AFC Championship season, and they've been putrid. But he brought in a winning culture. He brought in an attitude that you can not only look at him as someone who has been there, has done it, has a ring, but somebody that guys want to play for. And coming off of what they endured with Urban Meyer, I think it goes a long way. They had talent, though. They've stockpiled high draft picks for years, and they've been able to. He's kind of found a way to maximize that talent. And I don't know that they're going to be a playoff team, but I think when you go out there and you win back-to-back games the way they've been able to do it. And they really could have won week 1 in Washington. They were a couple mistakes away from winning. Like they're that close to being 3-0 in that division in the AFC South. I don't see any reason why the Jaguars at this point can't contend all season long. And you got young talent. Doug Peterson is the right guy for that situation. And I'm excited to see what Dougie P can do over there. And for him, it's a great position. It's a great spot to be in. It's great that he was able to land with the Jaguars, with the talent that they have after the way things went down in Philly that weren't really his fault. And I'm happy to see, like, there are guys that you should be happy to root for in sports. And to me, Doug Peterson is one of those guys.
The team they beat, the Chargers, Herbert's not healthy. Slater done for the year. Guyton done for the year. Are the Chargers just... Are they just never going to like get there, Rob? Because it feels like every preseason, it's like, oh, this team, they have talent. The Phillip Rivers era we saw year after year, right? Now with Herbert, another, stud quarterback, and it's like, and the team around him is falling apart again.
Yeah, and he's going to have to play through that. And he played through it yesterday, and I didn't think he needed to be in there at the end of the game, but Brandon Staley deferred to his quarterback. Brandon Staley, to me, is one of those, another guy that was anointed too soon as the next boy wonder genius, kind of like Sean McVay. And McVay finally won his Super Bowl last year. But it was interesting that Doug Peterson goes to L.A. again, and he wins. He's 4-0 in L.A., 2-0. 3-0 with the Eagles, and now 1-0 with the Jaguars, whether it's the Rams or the Chargers. Beat the Chargers twice, beat the Rams twice. I think there's a Chargers team that's talented. They're losing some players. If Justin Herbert is able to tough it out and play through this, and there's no reason to think he can't, they're going to score points, and they're going to be competitive, and they're going to be in games. But we saw Brandon Staley cost them an opportunity to make the playoffs last year with overuse of analytics on fourth down. And then just the way they played out that last game against the Raiders, who were willing to take the tie because they were in the playoffs and they didn't, and they called a timeout, and that cost them. So I think Brandon Staley hurts himself sometimes by overthinking.
2 more before I let you go, Rob. I appreciate you always jumping on as you are waiting for a hurricane to kind of hang out around you. I know there's like about 6 hurricane warnings in your area down there. But you were at Tampa Green Bay, and I said at the beginning, Rob, if you would have told me that 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks are going to compile 26 total points, I would have told you were nuts. And after watching that game, I don't even know what I watched yesterday, Rob. It felt like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady were hoping things would happen, it felt like. And it just like, it was almost like willpower that one team walked away with a win.
Yeah, and you also got to look at who they have. Like Brady's playing without his top 3 receivers. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Julio Jones, no Rob Gronkowski, who retired. He's missing 3 of his better offensive linemen. Ali Marpet retired. Ryan Jensen went down with a serious knee injury. The backup left tackle, Josh Wells, was out. The starting left tackle, Donovan Smith, was out. So he had his 3rd string left tackle, or a guy who hadn't played till last year, rookie at left guard, and a center who's a second-year pro starting his 3rd NFL game. So these are growing pains that the Buccaneers are going to go through. And obviously the Packers don't have Devontae Adams, and they're just a different team without him. I think they're growing and they're learning, and they're going to – I think both of these teams are going to be much better in October than September, November than October, and continually down the line. I think we'll see two different teams when they meet in the playoffs, and I fully anticipate at some point, maybe the NFC Championship game, that's what I predicted, that they'll face each other. There'll be high-scoring offenses. But you also got to give some credit to Tampa's defense. Tampa's defense has been stout all year long. They've been tremendous. And the Packers got a pretty good defense, a hard-nosed, physical-type defense that gets in your face and forces you to make plays. The Buccaneers had a lot of issues with turnovers, too. They turned the ball over twice. Both receivers, Brashard Perriman and Russell Gage, turned the ball over in Packer territory. Could have been a different ball game. Some penalties that cost them. So they were really sloppy. Todd Bowles said, we just made a lot of dumb mistakes. It wasn't about who was missing from the lineup. It was about us just playing stupid football. And I fully anticipate once they get through this week, and I don't know what it's going to be like with them, practice situation, hurricane coming, game against the Chiefs, Sunday night football, Chiefs coming off a loss. It's going to be a tough week. There's a lot of things they're going to have to go through this week. We don't know where they're going to get ready for it yet. As of now, they're still debating what they're going to do. So they could very well be 2-2 going into week 5 because the Chiefs are going to come into town hungry. And even and that game might be moved too at this point. We still don't know.
Before I let you go, Rob, the story you report on over with the Associated Press, the Pro Bowl is getting a major makeover. For those who don't know, for the first time since 1950, there will be no tackling in the Pro Bowl. It's a completely different makeover. Peyton Manning and Omaha Productions is going to be heavily involved. I mean, I don't think people realize that this is not going to look like anything they probably ever seen before.
No, it's going to be a week of different skills competitions, and then they're going to finish it off with a flag football game. The NFL's really got a major interest in flag football, trying to promote it, trying to promote the sport to young kids, to youth, to girls, to women in high schools, trying to make it part of the 2028 Olympics. And what better way than to showcase it by having the NFL stars play flag football? And also it's about having guys with their helmets off and engaging with fans and getting to know who they are, because you don't see that often unless it's the stars, unless it's Tom Brady, unless it's Aaron Rodgers. And let's face it, Josh, nobody wanted to tackle. Nobody took the game seriously. It was more exhibition than it was competition. I think this is the right thing to do. The only other thing would have been to eliminate it, but this is an opportunity to acknowledge the guys, the Pro Bowl players, and let them get together, have some fun, engage with fans. I think it's a win-win for everyone. I know some people are critical of it, but those who look at it in a critical eye, I wonder if they even have fun doing anything in life.
Well, let's be realistic. These things are supposed to be with the fans anyway. You look what the NBA and the NHL does. Everything's built around the fans and the TV product. It's not even much about the game with those guys anyway. So hopefully the Pro Bowl can, generate a little bit more fun interest, we'll call it, than just football interest. Follow Rob on Twitter at Rob Maaddi. Of course, he covers the NFL for the Associated Press, and he joined us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, stay safe. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, Josh. Thank you, buddy.
Of course, our conversation with Rob Maaddi being brought to you by my friends over at Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Jenkins technicians do it all, from heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services. Call 609-641-6262 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Back to the text board on the other side. 609-403-0973 is the text board, and your DMs through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up, an NFC East battle between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Giant quarterback Daniel Jones and his team off to a 2-0 start this season, while the 1-1 Cowboys grabbed a big win last week with quarterback Cooper Rush taking over the offense. Kurt Warner and I'll have all the action for you on Monday Night Football.
Listen to Monday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
It's alive! It's alive!
Sir, he's trying to speak.
It's
a crime to pay more than a dime.
Yes, one dime down at Springfield Mitsubishi in Atlantic City. Even the new Outlanders with third row seating.
Credit amnesty.
Yes, if you bring home $350 a week, you could get up to $25,000 in credit. 25 grand with only one dime down.
Hey, now this is a Halloween party. Woo-hoo!
Every vehicle, one dime down.
Acres of vehicles in stock now. And you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
Beat that.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City.
In Pleasantville.
They service all makes and models. Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com. Oh, this is good dip.
That's not dip.
New 22 Mirage, 16.4 dime down, $249 a month for 72 months at 3% APR plus tax act title to qualified buyers.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services. Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help. Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
You served your country. Now let VA serve you.
I know a lot of you really want the State Farm personal price plan, but what's with the oversharing? Like this message Brian left me.
Hey, Jake from State Farm. I love the smell of my cat's breath. Yeah.
You don't need to get that personal. The State Farm personal price plan helps you create an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
The one and only Mr. America All-American Sports Festival is coming to the Tropicana in Atlantic City, October 8th and 9th. The Super Bowl of natural bodybuilding is the world's most iconic bodybuilding competition. Competitors from 41 different states will compete for the title of Mr. and Ms. America. This year, more than 1,000 athletes competing in over 20 sports and events. The one and only Mr. America All-American Sports Festival, October 8th and 9th at Tropicana in Atlantic City. Get tickets now at MrAmerica.com.
Hurry into the Energy Savings Event at Lowe's. Save energy and save money on select major appliances, including Whirlpool energy-efficient appliances. You can also save with a smart thermostat. Right now, select Google Nest Learning thermostats are $60 off. Plus, find other great energy-saving items throughout the store and check your eligibility for rebates in your area to save even more. Don't miss the Energy Savings Event at Lowe's. Selection varies by location. Exclusions apply. Visit Lowe's.com for details. Valid through 9/28.
Businesses don't run on automation or algorithms alone. What powers businesses are your people and the people they serve. At Cintas, your dedicated service reps understand what you need to help you keep your employees feeling safe, comfortable, and performing their best. So your business can too. For workwear, essential cleaning products, first aid and safety supplies, and fire protection services, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
When cold symptoms keep you up, try Vicks NyQuil Severe for max strength nighttime relief. Just one dose of Vicks NyQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Get some rest and feel better with Vicks NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, sore throat, stuffy nose, fever, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
We'll get to the text in just a moment. Of course, the text board is open, 609-403-0973. You can DM the show through 973 ESPN. Mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Before we get to that, I just want to say a shout out to a very successful day in the locker room with Billy Schweim. For those who don't know, I've been working with Billy for a long time. We had a previous business professional relationship at another radio station, and I've been basically shifted from Saturday to Sunday during the football season, and it was a very, very great turnout. So, very good time with Billy Schweim in the locker room over there yesterday. Tomorrow Mora, met a lot of cool people out there. It's good to see, obviously Chuck Thompson out there, all the people who work at the establishment, met people, like Danielle, also saw Mark Grimes out there, just, Kayla's great who works over there, a lot of great people over there. So hopefully we'll get to see you out there next Sunday. I'll be with the locker room and Billy Schweim every Sunday on their, they hit the road each Sunday for the NFL and Eagles pregame shows, which are heard Sundays from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. All right, over on the text board, 609-403-0973. Jay in Atlantic City says, I knew this was going to happen, Josh. Eagles are the best team in the NFC. Jalen Hurts MVP. I hate it all. It's like Nick Saban said, it's rat poison. We must start putting teams away, stomping on their necks because the Bills, Chiefs, Dolphins, maybe Ravens, they don't play. We need to score in the second half and finish teams off. That's from Jay in Atlantic City. Couple things, Jay. Here's the problem with your assessment, because I agree with what you said. The rat poison, what Nick Saban said, and it's true. There is an element of this team has to finish games off with more offense, okay? Not just defense. But the problem is the teams you just named, none of them are doing that either. The Chiefs lost a game that they bungled away. The Bills should have won the game, as you heard Rob Maaddi mention yesterday, and the heat got to them. And the Dolphins won basically by accident. I mean, Ken Dorsey is still trying to break clipboards and playbooks up there in the coach's box. I mean, the Ravens, did they finish off the Patriots, or did Mac Jones's injury really impact that game more than we realize? The teams you mentioned, Jay, at Atlantic City, none of them are doing that either. None of them are finishing people off either. So my synopsis is, how much of this is the Eagles not getting the job done, and how much of it is the fact that the Eagles didn't play in the preseason, and that they're basically these first 3-4 weeks are their preseason, and we're not even seeing the best of them yet? Because realistically, you go through all the games yesterday, there was only, 2 games that were legitimate dominating performances. The Bengals over the Jets, the Jags over the Chargers, and all the other games were pretty darn close. I mean, physically, it looked like the Rams beat up on the Cardinals, but it was a 20-12 score. I'm not going to say they stomped on the Cardinals' necks. I mean, the Falcons had a shootout with the Seahawks on the road in Seattle. Green Bay and Tampa couldn't get out of their own way, and Denver and San Francisco had a baseball score instead of a football game. So I hear what you're saying, Jay Lanxey. It is a lot of rat poison. It's a lot of unnecessary conversation, but we're having that conversation. Look around the rest of the league, and nobody else is really doing what the Eagles are doing right now. Another message coming in says, the Eagles have figured out the second half of games. Other teams are figuring them out. I don't believe it's the notion they stepped off the gas to be more vanilla and not show the upcoming teams other plays. All these teams have playbooks sicker than a Tolkien novel. I'm not buying that narrative. I tend to agree with you, and I didn't get your name. I apologize, you who's messaging in there. I didn't get your name, but listen, it's a situation where I think teams are making adjustments at halftime, and the Eagles' offense is not making enough of their own adjustments. Now, is that a Sirianni problem? Is that a Steichen problem? I'm not sure, because Steichen's supposed to be making these play calls, and Sirianni's supposed to be overseeing the team. So if somebody is not making the proper adjustments offensively, then that conversation needs to be had. I think part of the problem is, like you said, And that is when you look at other teams, okay, they're figuring them out. I think that's the problem. And as I said earlier in the show, I didn't like the fact that there were times in that game where the offense looked completely out of sync and disorganized. Now, if that's a repetitions thing, and maybe they'll get better at that, we'll find out. But at least for me, when I look at the Eagles, I see a team that is not a finished product. They are not what they are going to be. And the next 2 weeks, to me, are going to define who they will be. By the way, tonight, 7:30 p.m., coverage of Monday Night Football, Giants and Cowboys here on 97.3 ESPN FM. This is the other game that will define the NFC East, because if the Cowboys can win this game, then you start to asking questions about, is this Cowboys defense that good? Did they figure something out in these last 2 weeks offensively? But if the Giants start 3-0, then we need to start having a conversation about Brian Daboll and the Giants, because I said Doug Peterson should be Coach of the Year candidate. Brian Daboll's are 3-0. Maybe he should be Coach of the Year. All right, shout out to everybody watching on the YouTube channel. Hit that like button, subscribe. Appreciate you jumping on board. A couple things before I wrap up the show here. I'll give you a review of my picks. Some of them are online right now at Josh Hennig on Twitter. So give me a follow on there as well. A couple things I want to hit on here. We'll get to the picks in a minute. Before I get to that, I want to bring this up. Looking at football this weekend, I think there's a big takeaway that needs to be discussed. And I don't want to be neglectful of it. And that is the fact that someone mentioned this to me over the weekend. I want to emphasize it. These athletes are human beings, and I'm just as guilty as anybody of being hypercritical of them. And I just want to say this about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, he is the embodiment of what bothers me about sports at times. And that is, there's this huge conflict of interest between Carson Wentz, the person, and Carson Wentz, the quarterback. Carson Wentz, the quarterback, has a ton of talent. Carson Wentz, the quarterback, is a phenomenal athlete in general. But Carson Wentz, the person, gets in the way of Carson Wentz, the quarterback. There's no reason why Carson Wentz should have been hit 17 times yesterday playing that position. At some point, players got to play with a little pride. If the defense is coming for your guy, I don't care if you're the most average, mediocre, subpar player playing offensive line in the NFL. Give me a little effort. I understand Carson Wentz doesn't endear a lot of people. He's a beta male. He's an individual who thinks he is owed and deserved things because he grew up in a sheltered environment where things were handed to him at times, and he was in a environment that made him think that he was more than he is. And he has not handled his personal or professional business very well. I am not going to ignore the fact, though, that Carson Wentz, the person, may be a good person. He may be a nice guy. I've heard a lot of, positive things about Carson Wentz with his charity work, with the things that him and his wife do to help people in Haiti, for example. The guy is a genuine, good-hearted person, but I think professionally, he's a twisted mess. And I think that, as I said to somebody yesterday, as a society, we have not learned how to separate who people are from what they do. I can go watch Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick and enjoy that movie, but also realize that Tom Cruise is a nut job, and he's a guy that, that Scientology stuff and him apparently setting up, tables in between shoots on set to proselytize his beliefs. It's weird. And it's not normal to act like he does. But I can separate Tom Cruise, the weirdo, And Tom Cruise, the bizarre individual, from him being an excellent actor and Top Gun Maverick probably being the best movie that hit theaters in 2022. I think we got to separate those things. Carson Wentz, I can separate who he is as an athlete and a quarterback from who he is as a person. But the problem is that the person we're talking about can also impact the locker room. And I think that's where the problem with the quarterback is. The quarterback's character and his quality as a human being is more important for a quarterback than any other position because you're supposed to be a leader. And you go back to 2017, it wasn't Carson Wentz giving speeches in that locker room. He may have been a front runner for league MVP for that injury, but he was not a leader in that locker room. Those leaders were Malcolm Jenkins and Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and Brandon Graham. And Wentz wasn't part of that. And the reason why they followed Nick Foles the way they did, they believed in Nick Foles in 2017 for the Eagles, was because of the fact that Nick Foles was one of the guys. He endeared himself to the group. Carson Wentz doesn't know how to do that. All right, picks review. Finally got the rebound we needed. 5-2 on the NFL picks for week 3. We're 12-9. We're finally over 500 for the year. Vikings, Lions. I mean, I got that wrong by half a point. I'm not going to be that upset about it. Bengals covered the 7. Eagles covered the 6.5. Saints, Panthers under 41.5. By the way, I got some questions about the Saints moving forward. I mean, if they're going to play that poorly moving forward, that's a concern right there. All right. Rams, Cardinals. I said that would go under 47.5. Well, it went over. It went over in part, though. So we'll talk about that another day. But the Cardinals-Rams game definitely did not go as I expected. Steelers-Browns, Thursday football, that hit the over. Broncos 49ers hit the under, and probably the ugliest football game I've ever seen in the last few years. College football, we went 4-2 on Saturday. It was actually better than I thought. When I went to bed Saturday night, I thought that I had a rough day. I thought I barely hit 500. And I woke up the next morning and I realized we went 4-2. And I was like, oh, it's better than I thought. 28-17 on the year, so we're hitting 62% on the college football picks. Indiana didn't cover at all in the 17.5. I think Cincinnati's problem right now is people like me realize that they are lacking the talent to be a great team. And you have a situation where, let's be realistic, you have a team in Indiana that may have been fool's gold. And maybe Cincinnati's better than we thought. Kansas -7 covered versus Duke. They're 4-0 on the year. Wake Forest and Clemson. I mean, that covered by the skin of its teeth. That was just ridiculous. That game was a double overtime, an incredible game. Utah beat up on Arizona State. Look, Arizona State's got a lot of rethinking to do in terms of program building. They're an absolute mess right now. Tennessee didn't cover the 11 versus Florida. And Arkansas, I thought they were going to beat Texas A&M. I thought they would cover the 2.5. Well, they covered, but you could argue that Arkansas, they're a team that is going to give Alabama trouble, but they're probably going to lose to Alabama next week. If they would have beat Texas A&M, I guarantee you that would have been one of the most watched games in the college football this year. Instead, Arkansas is just going to be another team on the Alabama resume as they try to win another national championship. All right. Thank you for watching the extended end of the show. Thank you, all of you watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, do all those good things, share. I appreciate you jumping on the show and watching. Thanks again to Rob Maaddi for joining the show. And thanks to the folks, Jenkins & Sons Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, and FanDuel Sportsbook inside Dallas, the Boardwalk in Atlantic City. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and right here on YouTube. Josh Hennig on YouTube. Catch you tomorrow.